Very nice. All right, everyone, welcome. How are you guys doing? Doing okay? Doing all right? Right, welcome. Today we're doing elections. Uh, is this coming as a surprise to anyone here? First time for anyone joining the meeting? Okay. Unfortunately, we'll have like an interesting talk after the election today, but unfortunately, this might be a little bit different from our normal meetings. All right, feel free to take a seat if you're coming in a little late. But yeah, also, please fill out the attendance form so that we can track that you were here at today's meeting. And for those of you wondering, today is Thursday, February 5th, and we're at a general meeting. Does anyone still need the attendance form? Anyone online? Anyone in person? Everyone's got it? All right, then we'll hop right in. Okay, so if this is your first time here, welcome. This is GreyHat. We are GT Cybersecurity Club. Uh, our Tuesday meetings are applied CTF training meetings where we'll teach you how to do CTFs, which are cybersecurity competitions. Thursdays tend to be for more general, social, sponsor, whatever miscellaneous security related meeting we want to present on. We'll present on like various cybersecurity related topics, bring in guest speakers, and generally just mess around with cybersecurity related things. We communicate primarily through our Discord. If you have not joined it yet, I highly recommend doing so so you can be up to date on all of our latest happenings and announcements. We also post occasionally on our Instagram. Does anyone need any of these links? Awesome. Okay. Once start off by mentioning that Magnet Forensics, one of our sponsors, is currently hiring. They gave us this link for their internal job or for their job board, so feel free to grab this if you'd like. We'll also post the slides and miscellaneous afterward in the announcements and jobs channel after we are done. Give you guys a second to grab that. Anyone still need the QR code? All right. Okay. Before we hop into elections today, I want to just go ahead and reiterate that we have a couple of other open roles at GreyHat. We are still hiring for infrastructure engineers. Applications closed today, so if you're interested in that, feel free to shoot me a DM. Likewise, we'll be probably formally opening the LM CTF agent project security engineer role in a week or so after we do like a midterm presentation to our sponsoring lab. And Rex CTF still wants more challenge authors. So if you're interested in running a challenge and aren't interested in playing the CTF this year, feel free to shoot me a message about that as well. All right. Any questions? Okay. Also, I filled out the slide more concretely this time. Daniel Bohannon is coming next week to give a talk about maladaptive and Skyscraper. Uh, Daniel is a principal security researcher at Promeso Security. He's previously a security researcher at Microsoft and Mandiant, and he's also a Black Hat and DEF CON speaker. Oh, he's also a GT alumni, which is very cool. Uh, the week after, we're going to have Valden come in and give a sponsor talk. They're going to just like at a high level, they mentioned they're going to talk about some of their threat intel research. For those of you who don't know, Valden, also one of our sponsors, is a cybersecurity startup located in Georgia. They work on a DNS and threat intel platform that allows security researchers to investigate suspicious online traffic and web presences in order to track down like malicious threat actors, such as like nation states and advanced persistent threats. They do pretty cool work. Their talk last time generally was, I'd say, like very, very interesting and very successful over here. So we're excited to see them come back and go ahead and give it an encore. Yeah, also they're hiring for summer 2026 interns. So if you're interested in networking with them, this is a good opportunity. Okay. As we mentioned on Tuesday, we have a couple of upcoming CTFs, including one this weekend. LACTF is this weekend, hosted by our friends at UCLA. It's generally a very, very high quality and beginner friendly CTF. So if it's your first time and you want to get your feet wet in CTFs and get some mentorship, this is a very good opportunity. We'll be meeting the Student Center on Saturday. The kickoff is technically Friday at 9 p.m. our time. So people will probably start working on Chalice virtually then. But we'll be meeting in Student Center and continuing to work on it and have like live mentors present for people who are interested in that. Uh, on Saturday from I think it was we blocked 10 to 5 p.m. If you want the more concrete meeting location and so on, check the upcoming CTF channel inside of the GreyHat server. After that, in a couple weeks later, we have Sturgeon Line quals. Uh, again, their website is still down, so I can't give you more concrete information about when the end date for it is or when the finals will be. And then similarly, or I guess not similarly, but we also have a few weeks later after that, DICE CTF quals. Traditionally, we've done very well in DICE CTF quals and have qualified for finals. Do that again this year. Questions about the upcoming CTFs? Okay. I'm gonna keep blasting through this. Okay, if you do decide to play in LACTF or any of the other CTFs we have coming up and manage to solve a challenge and decide to create a write-up for it, you can go ahead and we'll release a form after the CTF is over. But you can submit your CTF write-up and other information about the CTF challenge you solved through a form, and we'll be able to feature you both on our publications page, on our like competition, and on our competition team members page, which will also include your resume in our like under the competition team member category of our resume book. Okay. With that all out of the way, let's just go ahead and get started on the elections. You guys excited? Yeah. Okay. Raise your hand if you are like just so that people can kind of get a gauge. If you are actively running for a election position this cycle. Okay. So look around the room. Some familiar faces, hopefully. All right. So if you haven't already seen it, I posted the candidate information around noon today. Uh, is- Feel free to scan the QR code and check it out. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get the actual election ballot set up. Yeah, sounds good. I actually have the slide currently blank, so if you want to go ahead and set up the election, I posted the candidate information on the Discord, so you should be able to access it. Um, like if you want, you can just like sit over here and you can ask me if you have any questions about the settings or whatnot. Also, just by a quick show of hands, can you raise your hand if you have not been to Grey Hat for at least two meetings at this point? Okay. Unfortunately, you guys are not eligible to vote in today's election. So I'll ask. Hmm? Yes. So if you've been here for at least two meetings during your entire time at GT, or I guess like let's just limit it to this semester and last semester, you're eligible to vote. If you do not meet that criteria, I ask that you kindly do not like use the ballot for today. we just manually close the ballot once we're done instead of having a end time? Or will we be able to like end the ballot before the deadline? Okay. I know that if you set it to nothing, it just lets you manually close it. Sorry, just really in your way. So for this, you have to watch the I'm actually realizing this doesn't work for the style of election that we wanted to conduct. We were hoping to do like if you did not get like nominated for, because like some people are running for multiple roles. We wanted to do like a rolling election where
You can handle it until you can handle it once you get
the ballots. Okay.
you have the general.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm worried that like it might change people's voting preferences, but I guess that's okay. Yeah. But say if there's like three or four candidates and two of them are eliminated, if you only vote for one person, then do you know if it's possible to switch like range choice? No, I think you don't have like if we do anyone, it's okay. For rank choice and then if the person who likes it, just use the next person. Rank choice first class in the website. Carter, I'm realizing that the software they're planning to use for the election. Like the 3 rows behind you, and tell me if anyone. The like if you have
Well, you might be I fell asleep and thinking. Yeah. I.
you
In addition, also like for the clinical stuff, like if you want to try taking a leadership position, it's still for qualified for just following the same.
oh
Oh, oops.
okay. Maybe I should have clarified. Well, I was thinking it would be more like for hey, for online and in-person people, we're still working on the election link, so it'll still take a couple more seconds or a couple more minutes, more likely. So hang tight. Yes, perfect.
Yeah. It seems it's like a little market. You can feel like so little.
Either
You can get off. It's not and if you have like slacks as well.
oh, they're interested in crypto. I guess one for we talk to professor. Offerings. If you already have the reach form done, you should just start. Yes. Can you send me the link? I'll just get on the side. Dang, what's this window picture? What's this window picture?
This is new.
Thank. Okay. Interesting. Could you? Yes. Just changing some screenshot stuff. Give me a sec. Okay. All right. As we get ready to share the election ballots, I'm going to have Shreyas go ahead and give a talk on the election platform we'll be using and just in general about evidence-based elections. Take it away, Shreyas. Oh, actually, you might need.
Can you switch to presenter mode or something?
Yeah,
Like full screen?
sure. Also, we might just use the. Is there a microphone here? Yes. Okay. We'll probably switch to this mic kit.
Yeah, I'm gonna get shit.
Put that in your pocket.
Okay, wait, so I made it 50 and baseline failed. Should baseline fail 50? Like I got this error. It's red shift. Symmetric possibly if you got B60 and I'm on separate. Like what? How is that paying that? I guess it is. I don't know. That shouldn't affect it at all. It shouldn't cause an error. The threshold for what it's detecting influence the tensor set. I don't think it does, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, but output tensor size gets normalized anyway, right? So no, it has to that baseline. And see, baseline's fine now, but we should make it 50, right? But it's at 31% now, so. Like,
The presenter mode and also so on.
how does this threshold actually work? You should try to. It's.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this gets. Yeah, even transfer point gets mobilized on. So either way,
This on set.
Pressing something.
Test. How far? Test.
All right, Trace is going to present now.
All right, thanks for waiting. I'm Shreyas. I'm a second-year PhD student at the Security, Privacy, and Democracy Research Lab here at Georgia Tech. So that's in the School of Cybersecurity and Privacy, and we are based on the 10th floor of CODA. That makes sense. All right. Thanks. All right, so I'll be talking about elections. I'll be talking about Helios, and just for some context, like my advisor, who is Mike Spector, you may have heard of. His PhD research was based on a bunch of election-related stuff. So being interested in some of the same stuff, I applied to him as a grad student, and here I am. So anyway. So the reason I wanted to talk to you all about elections today is because I figured we have a good opportunity to use some of the latest and greatest technology available in elections software for something like this. So the reason GreyHat is an especially good club for this is because all of you are already interested in security. So all right, starting my stopwatch so I don't keep rambling. All right, yeah, so let's get right into it. So what do we want from an election? So I'll call on three of you if no one volunteers, but just give me something. What are some things we want from an election? All right.
It accurately represents what the population is voting wants.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Anonymity.
Anonymity, sure. Secret ballot, yeah. A winner. So we do want an actual winner from the election. All right. So here are some things I came up with, and all of the points y'all brought up are represented here. So we want that it should be accessible to all eligible people. We don't want any ineligible people to vote. So if you haven't been to 2 meetings before, you shouldn't be able to vote. And we want only 1 vote per person. All right, so we also want secrecy of ballots, anonymity, as someone said, and we want some resistance to coercion. So Saket here shouldn't be able to force you to vote for his friend or whatever, right? And you shouldn't be able to sell your vote to someone either. So 6 and 7, we want an accurate record of each voter's vote, right? So there's no point if it's an inaccurate record of the vote. We also want correct tallying of all valid votes. So once we have a correct record of each vote, we also want that we add them up correctly and we get the correct result. Finally, there's also a bunch of like non-technical problems. So the election can be correct and valid, but if the population doesn't trust in the outcome, then there's no point. All right, so yeah, elections are complicated, and a bunch of these goals are somewhat contradictory. So Helios. So Helios started in Harvard, who famously has a terrible CS program, but it was written by this guy named Ben Adida, who is a leading elections security researcher, right? So his motivation for writing this was not to create a novel new election system, because like this technology has been around since the 80s or 90s, but he wanted to make some of these advances in cryptography available to the public at large. So for low stakes elections,
not to say the gray hat elections are low stakes, but for something that's not a public election, for example, where voting online isn't as big of a problem as it is for like public elections, this might be a good choice, right? So going back to the previous slide, Helios is good at solving bullet point 6 and 7, right? So it uses cryptography to achieve these things while not compromising the secrecy of voters' choices and while resisting coercion to some extent. All right, so one question we might want to ask of our voting software is the ballot box actually encrypting my vote correctly? So stepping back, Helios is gonna encrypt your votes. So whereas normally you might use like Google Forms or something and enter your choices there, with something like Google Forms, like you have no idea if like Saket is actually using the results from there or changing them on the back end, right? He just opens sheets.google and changes your choices, right? So Helios encrypts your votes on your device. So we want to know that Helios is encrypting the choices accurately. So the way it achieves this is kind of convoluted and it takes some explanation, but what it does, what the idea is that once you make your choice, once you fill out your ballot, it's going to give you a confirmation code, right? So so once you have that confirmation code, you have the option to either challenge the ballot or cast the ballot. So if you cast it, then the election proceeds as normal. But challenging the ballot is basically asking the software to show its work. So it's a way of testing the software to make sure that it's not lying to you. So I'll show how this works in Helios in a sec, but the idea is that if the election software is fraudulent, then when you challenge it, you're going to catch it, right? So the software never knows if you're going to challenge it or cast the ballot. So if enough people actually challenge the ballot and challenge it enough times, then we have some probabilistic guarantee that the voting software cannot like cheat and also get away with it. So here you have, yeah, so we're representing an unknown number of challenges from the software's perspective before we actually cast the ballot. All right, so here's what like the Helios voting booth looks like once you've made your choices. So hopefully it's clear enough over there. It says there's a spoil and audit feature, right? So what happens when you select spoil and audit is you're challenging the ballot. And when you do that, it's not going to count that particular vote, but you can go back and vote again, right? So you keep challenging as many times as you want until you finally select cast. And then the last one is the one that counts. So once you select the spoil and order option, it's going to give you this weird JSON representation of your vote, right? So what you do from there is you copy that, you open the ballot verifier link over there, and you paste it in there, and you select verify. So if verification passes, that means that the software wasn't cheating you. And if it fails, then you come and call us.
So when you like spoil and challenge it and then revote, is it just you that's revoting or does everyone else have to revote as well?
It's just you. All right, so yeah, that's a good question. So when you are challenging the ballot, you're only testing the accuracy of the software on your end. So it's not going to do anything about anyone else's ballot. But if the software is the same for everyone, then the hope is that enough people are going to actually challenge the ballot that we have some assurance that the software was accurate for everyone, right? So we have this theoretical probabilistic whatever mumbo jumbo, but like at the end of it, like if no one's actually challenging the ballot box enough, then we don't practically achieve these guarantees. Any questions so far? All right, so moving on, we can also check whether your ballot was included in the tally. That's something you can do. All right, so at the end of the election, this is quite small, I realize, but at the end of the election, it's going to give you a weird like base 64 string that doesn't decode to anything probably, right? So it's going to give you that, and at the end of the election there'll be like a bulletin board with with everyone's ballot trackers, right? So you would check that your ballot tracker appears in this list, and if it does appear, then you know that that your vote was counted in this election. Now again, hopefully enough voters will actually check this, right? So we have this theoretical guarantee that voters can check this, but like if none of you do it, then like in practice we haven't achieved anything, right? So yeah, we're relying on enough people out of the voters to actually check this, because in real life, not every voter is going to do what you want them to do. So hopefully that explains the background on Helios. I'll take any like quick questions if you have them. Yeah.
Is there a percentage of people you need to challenge the vote to guarantee some sort of accuracy?
Yeah. So there's like statistical models of this. In practice, in all the real world trials they've done with like actual like precinct level elections, for example, they had some in Wisconsin, Maryland, Iowa. People don't usually challenge the ballots. It's quite unfortunate, but yeah. So there are models for that, and the hope is that eventually election security researchers who are more HCI focused will come up with ways to explain this to like the average voter, to the median voter. All right. Other questions? All right. So the way we're doing this is we're splitting up each of the positions into separate elections. So yeah, we'll pull up the link real quick, and yeah. All right.
Great. Thank you so much, Shreyas.
There's more after this, so I'll be back.
All right, we're currently in the process of getting the link for the first election. Hold tight for a second. Already started. Okay, so given time constraints, we'll probably limit each voting period for each position for 5 minutes. And then we'll be able to run the computation to tabulate the votes afterward, and then open the ballot for the next election based off that information. Yeah. Will people be able to vote from their phones? Okay, sounds good. Just send me the QR code. You send the QR code. All right. Let's see. All right, the first ballot is live. We'll keep this open for around 5 minutes. And again, please only vote in this election if you've attended at least 2 meetings so far. Please do not vote if you have not. Are you just able to see upside? Send me the next link and stuff. All right. Does anyone still need more time to cast their votes? Any online people? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay. That should be good then. Can you go ahead and close the election and begin the tabulation, Shreyas? Okay, the tally has started. So we'll know in a minute or so the outcome of the election. So, yeah, today's meeting was definitely very, very different from how we normally run our meetings. We had a fair share of hiccups with regards to setting up the software and whatnot, but overall, how are you guys like finding this style of election? Yeah. Any feedback or thoughts on things we could do better next time? Yes, Nash. Yeah, you should test it out for the election. In fact, we did test it out for the election. We just didn't test it in the configuration that we actually ended up running it in. Yeah. Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. We definitely didn't give you enough time to really do like a good number of challenges or whatnot. Yeah. Yeah. We actually have a log of everyone who did how do you say cast a ballot. Like you had to authenticate with your Google or your like GitHub or whatnot. So we're like planning to cross-ref that against like the what's it like the attendance forms that you guys have hopefully been filling out.
There's more sophisticated ways of setting it up. Like you can enter a list of email addresses to send ballots and stuff. It's just inconvenient out there. Something.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and release the results of the election. Yeah. All right, looks like Teja won. Congrats to Teja. All right, next up, we're going to have. Oh, you should remove him from the. I don't think he's. Is his next bout CTF captain or public outreach is next?
That's fine.
Um, I guess it shouldn't. No, I think CTF actually doesn't matter for these two. Technically, yeah. Because they're okay. Sure, it should be fun. Okay, we're gonna be doing the public outreach election next. Oh, right, yeah. The reason we aren't doing a election for CTF captain is that we have two open slots for CTF captain, and exactly two people decided to run. So that worked out. Yeah, I was tripping over myself for a second. Yeah, I'll make the QR. You said it was QR.tools, right? Hey, all right, here's the information for public outreach election. All right, anyone need more time on casting their ballot? Yeah, okay. We good? All right, anyone online still need a little bit more time? All right, let's go ahead and freeze the results. All right, we are releasing the results right now. All right, the winner was Carter Patterson. Congrats. All right, final election. Treasurer. All right, here is the information for that. Anyone still voting? Anyone online? All right, can we go ahead and freeze it? And again, if you ran for a position this cycle and did not get elected, we will be reopening elections in our traditional fashion at the end of the semester for the next academic year. We only ran this election because we had a number of seats unfilled and we're actively looking for more help. If you are interested in still being involved with Grey Hat in a more, I guess, operational capacity, we do also have the appointed roles I mentioned at the beginning of the slideshow available. So feel free to shoot me a DM if you are interested in any of those. Okay, congrats, Purvi. You won. Okay. That concludes the elections for today. Thank you guys so much for coming. Andreas also has, yeah, if you want to like stick around for an extra like 10 minutes or so, Andreas is going to go ahead and finish the other half of his election security talk. Uh, Generally, I find this stuff pretty interesting. I recommend you stick around if you can. But overtime. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. You want to just keep going from here and reshare? Yeah. All right. I'm gonna stop sharing over here. Do you have your lapel? Ah, thank you guys for coming online.
All right. For the one person who's online. Hopefully that wasn't too inconvenient despite the operational challenges, and hopefully it was somewhat entertaining at least. Um, so, okay, the clicker isn't working anymore. All right, no worries.
Over the like main part of the screen.
Oh, right. Was out of focus. There we go. So the final thing that we can also check using Helios is whether all the votes were tallied correctly. So Helios releases a bunch of election-related data to the public, which allows the public to verify the tallying of the votes was correct. So this is one of the last slides, but it's also unfortunately one of the most technical. But there's something known as a mixnet, which shuffles the ciphertext in their encrypted form. So it detaches your identity with your vote, right? It detaches the identity of the person from their vote, and without decrypting the ciphertext of the votes, it encrypts them again. And what it also does is that it can prove that this was done correctly without revealing anything about it. Anyone know what that's called, real quick? Yeah, exactly. So it uses a zero knowledge proof. It's kind of a buzzword in some circles, but it's pretty cool math. So it produces a proof, and this proof is released to the public. It then decrypts the shuffled ciphertext because in this model, it needs to decrypt them to tally them, and it produces a zero knowledge proof again that it did this correctly. Finally, it tallies the decrypted ballots. So now that they've been decrypted, you can just add them up normally. So all of this is released to the public at the end, and the hope is that enough people will audit this data to check that the election was in fact run correctly, right? And if everyone's using the same software to perform all these steps, that's another kind of challenge on its own, right? Because like that software could be broken. So that's another little caveat over there. So can we run state and national elections online now? In theory, this technology is pretty cool, but unfortunately, the answer is no. Even if you set things up perfectly, the biggest thing is that people can be coerced online, right? So like um, intimate partner violence is a thing. You could also like really easily sell your vote to someone because you're all behind a screen. So there's no guarantees that no one's being coerced as we have in real life. So I'll be concluding now. So what do we know from this? We know that we can prove some really nice things about secret ballot elections, right? We can do this in in-person elections also. This technology is compatible with in-person elections, but over there's no coercion issue as there isn't on the internet. So we can check that our vote was recorded correctly. We can check that our vote was included in the tally, and we can check that everyone's votes were added up correctly. And hopefully people will actually check these things. That's why achieving this in practice can be hard. So this theory is old, like I said, 80s or 90s, but real world trials of this technology are recent. So there's a bunch of open questions, even with the in-person versions of this. So on the internet, this technology currently works well enough only for elections where the risk of being coerced is not high, as it would be for a real public election. And with that, I think we're done. I'm Shreyas once again. Feel free to get in touch if this sounds interesting. We at the Security, Privacy, Democracy Research Lab do a bunch of cool stuff like this. So yeah, that's all I have. Yeah. Questions?
Said it's not a good idea to use this for state and like national elections, but because you said coercion.
Mhm.
But if you have people going to an in-person voting center, you can use this on the voting machine after they cast the vote in order to make sure it doesn't get tampered with afterward.
What's that? So like in-person elections.
But like after people put their vote into a voting machine, could you use this to make sure the vote doesn't get tampered with later?
Yes, correct. So there are other versions of this technology, like there's Election Guard, if you want to look it up, which is being deployed with in-person voting machines, and it does a lot of the same stuff, just slightly differently in in-person voting settings. Other questions?
Can you give like a high-level technical overview of the zero-knowledge proof part of the mixed match algorithm?
Yeah, sure. So the votes are encrypted using LGAMO, which has the nice property that you can re-encrypt it without actually decrypting it. So like you can imagine the set of there's person A ciphertext, person B ciphertext. Then you give this list to someone, and they re-encrypt that and shuffle the order. So if you do this enough times, then you have a completely new list of ciphertexts for the same plain text, but it's completely detached from the list of voters. And it's also provable that this process was done correctly. So that's the mixnet, that's the shuffling part. And for the decryption proofs, there's you can look up like I think it was a Chomp-Peterson proof of decryption. So there's this nice paper in Usenix 2008 if anyone's interested in the crypto details of it. But yeah, so that's the zero knowledge proof stuff. I would love to talk about it. Like it's actually pretty accessible to anyone who has a high school degree. But yeah, we don't have the time for that. Maybe another day. All right. Other questions?
All right. Well, thank you so much, Shreyas, for coming in and giving this talk and also helping us organize the election.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Guys, give Shreyas another round of applause. I'm sorry for holding you guys hostage. I guess. If you're here for the LMC campaign, stuff come down.